Hey everybody, pen name Jay here with a comic look. This time I'm talking about Static Shock and its cancellation. Okay, I read both articles from McDaniels and from Rosen, and I have to tell you this. When two people butt heads over something, and hearing both sides, it just sounds like one thing. Two people who could not agree with each other with the story. One person who had no confidence in the other person, and the other person just thinking that whatever other ideas was just plain old stupid. So, hearing that, it's kind of like this. They were trying to make something fast-paced, and make it filled with action so that it can sell. That's good. Problem was, the first issue was like the second issue, which was like the third issue, which was like the fourth issue, which was like the fifth and the sixth issue. All the issues were practically the same. There was no slow time, there was no character development, no nothing. So, for me, I liked the first issue. I thought the second issue was okay. I didn't like the third, I didn't like the fourth, I didn't like the fifth. I liked the sixth because the story was about to end and I was hoping that, they would have a calmer moment and develop the characters, actually introduce some secondary characters and stuff like that. But they didn't do anything like that. And then the story got canceled. Now, why did the story get canceled? Because it didn't get that much publicity. You would think that you would put certain things at a certain time. Let's just say this. Static Shock and Superboy on the same week. That would work. Static Shock and Teen Titans on the same week. That would work as well. The whole point is to keep your audience at the same week. Now, yeah, you want to spread it apart, but Static wasn't much of a strong story. Now, what fan base would like it? The people who've seen the show. But knowing that it's nothing like the show, it threw a lot of the audience off, and they stopped reading it. Now, the rest of them, who wanted to read it a little more to try to understand Static, they were thrown off a lot more because the story was not that good. Now, the whole twin thing still it puts a bad taste in my mouth. So, now, hearing Rosen said that, that all his ideas were being knocked off. That his ideas of having a slower pace was being knocked down because they wanted it to be fast and they wanted it to be filled with action. Now, McDaniel said that he wanted Virgil to have another reason to be in New York, not with his family and all that other stuff because it didn't make sense. I agree with him with that. I thought that Static should have went to New York for another reason. Knowing that he knows hardware, and hardware is a little connected to a lot of things, as well as Star Labs, would have gotten him into a boarding school, and, he would have supported Static's connection with technology. Now, I have to pull up an example here before I log off, but in Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, they introduced a new character, and a lot of people are flipping out about his race, but tell you the truth, the story is good. And Brian Michael Bendis knows how to write characters properly. Now, he might have some hit and misses, like the previous video that I had, the new Spider-Man Miles Morales. It talks about one of my viewers, or commenters, talked about how he didn't like the book because Miles doesn't talk like a 13-year-old, doesn't behave like one. And I was like, Miles does behave like a 13-year-old one. And sadly, I know what type of 13-year-old he behaves like. An introverted preteen. And that's who I was, an introverted preteen. So I easily picked that up when I read the book. He does what he's told. He can say a lot of mature things because kids that age, they are mature, They're not that bad. But it wasn't filled with action, and to tell you the truth, his sales were high just because of the shock value of having another type of Spider-Man running around. And they're trying to keep the sales up higher with this whole thing of Spider-Men coming out. But we're going to talk about that later. But the whole point with Static is, the whole idea that McDaniels have of having a boarding school and him going to this high school, which was a boarding school, was a good idea. It was a wonderful idea. It would have freed up some time and dealt with all that other stuff, created a new supporting cast and a new love interest, and it would have made the story pretty well and make it a real teenage story instead of just having a teenager wear a mask all the time and not concentrate on his life. But still, they didn't want to do the slowdowns. They didn't want to do the downtimes properly. They just wanted him to be static. Not Virgil, static. And just like they said in McDaniel's interview or blog, that he even calls Static and Virgil two separate characters. They're the same person. It's just the same person wearing a mask. So either way, I think that both of them were doing it the wrong way. They needed to find a middle ground. And they would have found a middle ground. And if they didn't have a middle ground, the comic shouldn't have went off. The comic shouldn't have been published. There shouldn't have been a #1 from the New 52. So I think that, the New 52, they're trying to boost up sales, but they really need to find out the stability of the teams before they do anything else. And if they see that the stability is totally out of whack, they should have X'd it out. But this is Pen Name Jay signing out.